Shalom Aleichem, everybody. My name is Rabbi Sender Geisinsky, and I would like to walk you through how to navigate this particular year's calendar in terms of Pesach. This is a very unique year in the fact that the Eve of Pesach, a day that we are very busy with the burning of the Comets the night before, and or rather the searching of the Comets the night before, the burning of the Comets the day of, the sale of the Comets that happens by the rabbi, the fast of the firstborn, etc. All this on the day before Pesach, the Eve of Pesach, but this year the Eve of Pesach falls out on Shabbat, and that makes things quite complicated. So there's some steps that we need to talk about and walk through so that everybody can do this correctly. And so we're going to start, we're going to kind of work through this chronologically, but the truth is that one of the things, the first thing that happens chronologically is Thursday morning, we have the fast of the firstborn. But because that fast is only really relevant to firstborns, firstborn males over 13, or fathers of firstborns that are not yet 13, we are going to talk about that at the end. So put a pin in that idea, and let's really talk about the getting rid of the chametz and all that, how that happens this year. Now, getting rid of the chametz is a three-step process. We tackle it in three ways. We sell the chametz that out of our possession that we do not want to destroy or get rid of, but obviously can't own on Pesach. So we sell it for the period of Pesach and then we buy it back. That gets done by the rabbi. You cannot do this on your own because it is because this is a Jewish legal thing. This needs to be done by somebody who knows Jewish legal matters, knows how to phrase this contract correctly, because it cannot be a temporary sale. It needs to be a full sale and then a buyback, and it needs to be with somebody, and needs exactly when it needs to happen. So you make your local Orthodox rabbi your proxy for the sale, and they then go and buy it back Motzei Shabbat. So make your local Orthodox rabbi, you'll set it up. Once you set that up and you set aside the rooms or the closets, whatever it is, where that chametz is, that's pretty much taken care of, pretty much like any other year, because you're going to do this in advance. I personally will be accepting those forms. You can either do it online or you can fill out a form and email it to me, or come if you would like to really do it in person Sunday morning by the minyan. You can take care of it. Then once you've done that and you've designated the closet in which all that chametz stuff goes, you're pretty much taking care of that, and that ends up being pretty much like any other year. Then there's the burning, seeking and destroying, the seeking and burning of the chametz, of the other chametz in your house that you plan on finding and getting rid of. That's the step 2. And step 3 is nullifying whatever crumbs I did not find, but I am disowning it. I am nullifying it and disowning it. So 3 steps. We talked about the sale of chametz. You have to have that closet designated, and you just fill out the form to make the rabbi a proxy, and then you're good with that. The seeking and the and destroying of chametz usually happens the evening before Pesach, and then the day of the Eve of Pesach. It will not happen that way this year because that is Shabbat. That is Friday night and Shabbat, and you cannot do either of those things on Shabbat. What happens is you bump that out till Thursday night and Friday morning. Thursday night, March 25th at 7:54 p.m. After 7:54 p.m., you get yourself a candle, and if you can, a wooden spoon and a feather. If you can't get a wooden spoon and feather, that's fine. And you set out 10 pieces of bread. That is because really you have to search the house for chametz, but most of us have cleaned and done are getting rid of chametz, hopefully way in advance of the last night we can do it. But I'm going to make a blessing over searching and finding the chametz, because the Torah obligation is to do it that night. So what we do is we have the house already all cleaned and whatever it is, and hopefully got rid of all the chametz. We put out 10 pieces, so we know there's for sure at least 10 bits of chametz to find. And on that, we make the bracha, and then we begin doing our search. This is Thursday night, March 25th, after 7:54 p.m. and you're meant to do a very thorough search of every nook and cranny in the house. This is every year that you're obligated to do so, and every year, if you feel like that's going to be too onerous to do that night, that it's just too much to do in one evening after 7:54 p.m., then what you can do is you can do that search of nook and crannies in most other rooms in the lead up to Pesach, a couple days before, etc. As you clean those rooms, and then you do it with the candle at night, preferably, and you can kind of say that room is done of a thorough search. And then you'll save just the 10 pieces and the kind of the quick search for the night of Bedikat Chametz. It is traditional you leave at least one room where you can do a thorough search on, so that you're doing the thorough search, you're also searching for those 10 pieces, and so you've done really something as per the Torah's definition to do it on that night right before Pesach. So that again, that's happening Thursday night, 7:54 p.m. You make a blessing after you put out the 10 pieces before the search, put out the 10 pieces, prepped it, say the blessings, and then you go and do the search. After which, if you look in the Siddur, there's a little paragraph of nullification. You do say that one. That one you say. Okay? And you put aside those 10 pieces and whatever other chametz you found in a flammable container, a bag, paper bag, or whatever, so that you can burn it the next day. Now, Friday morning this year is the day that you burn the chametz. It's not yet the Eve of Pesach, and that's going to be important in a moment. But all the chametz that you have found, all chametz left in your house that's not locked away in the closet, you are burning in this in the biur chametz, in the burning of chametz. Except this year is a little bit different. You are setting aside hamotzi bread, challah rolls or whatever it is, for Friday night and Shabbat day, which is going to be happening later. You need to make motzi on Friday night and Shabbat day. You can't do it on matzah because you're not supposed to eat matzah in the lead up to Pesach so that the taste of matzah is fresh at the Seder night. So you're kind of in a catch-22. You need to make motzi, but you can't do it on matzah, so you have to do it on bread. This is after you're burning the bread earlier that day. So you set aside just enough bread to make the motzi that you know you can consume and finish completely on Friday night and Shabbat day. And then you set those aside. You take all the rest of the chametz that's not getting locked in the closet for sale, and you burn it before 12:02 p.m. Friday. You do the biur chametz, the burning of chametz, before 12:02 p.m. Usually, as you are doing the burning of the chametz, you make a final nullification. As I said, that's the third step in which you disown any last crumbs of chametz that you couldn't find. You cannot say that final nullification on Friday when you are burning the chametz, because your association with chametz is not final. As mentioned, you have those challah rolls for Friday night and Shabbat day. So you just burn all that rest of the chametz that is found and you're not locking away, except for those challah rolls that you're setting aside for Shabbat. You burn all the rest of the chametz, whatever it is, what have you, as if it would be a typical year, but you do not say that final nullification. So before 12:02 p.m. on Friday, March 26th, you are doing the biur chametz without that final nullification statement. If you know you're going to forget that final nullification, because it's a different year and you usually associate it with the burning of the chametz, which is an event, and the next morning you might forget Shabbat day. So that's going to be a big mistake, and that's going to be big problems. Then you make the final nullification as you burn the chametz with in mind, saying that I'm going to try to remember tomorrow, so that it includes everything, including whatever crumbs might fall from these few challahs. If I don't let this nullification be the main one, and it should include any chametz that's still around, any crumbs that's still around after I finish eating my Shabbat meal on Shabbat day. And if I do remember, then these are just words, and the nullification that I will make tomorrow will be the real one. So you do that. You kind of safe a little safety valve in which you say it. Then you say it with the burning of the chametz, with having in mind that if I don't forget, and I do say it tomorrow, this one is not important. But if I do forget, then this one should count, and it should include everything that is still around tomorrow. So either you say it or you don't, depends on how confident you are. Either way, then Friday night, you make Kiddush, you have these two challah rolls. You have these challah rolls in a bag or whatever it is, because at this point, your house is chametz free, right? You've done the search, you've cleaned the house, everything. But you have these challah rolls. These challah rolls should be in a bag. And so that really they're not crumbing all over the place. The challah rolls should be moister, not drier, so that there's less crumbing. There should be challah rolls that if you pull apart a piece off the challah, it's not leaving crumbs all over the place. You should then spread out for yourself a napkin, and everybody else is going to eat this. A napkin, or rather a tissue. A tissue is even better than a napkin. Don't do paper towel or anything else. And you'll find out why in a second. And you eat very carefully over this napkin or tissue. If you can, and from the place where you made Kiddush, or the weather's nice enough that you can make Kiddush outside, because you need to eat challah within eyesight of where you made the Kiddush. So if you can see your backyard or whatever it is where you're making the Kiddush, and you can eat in the challah in the backyard, that's better. Because then it's out there, and the birds, whatever it is, and we're less concerned of crumbs outside than crumbs inside. But if you can't, and you need to do it at your table, you eat the challah on a napkin or on a tissue. After you finish the challah, you give your mouth a good rinse. Make sure there's no challah in the step. You can swallow it, but you just make sure it's not stuck between your teeth. You take the tissue and you flush it down the toilet. Boom, flush down the toilet. You got rid of the concern. So that's how you do Friday night, and you should try not to eat any other chametz. Don't save any other chametz to have the meal. Don't have kogel or whatever it is. Do a Shabbos meal that's pretty much Pesach, kosher for Passover. Challah you have to have, as we mentioned. Otherwise, not keep the rest of the meal kosher for Passover. Shabbat day, this is where another thing that's going to bump out your regular schedule. Shabbos davening, Shabbat morning davening before the meal needs to be very early. Needs to be early and end early. And the reason for this is because the Shabbat meal, where you can make motzi the second time on Shabbat day meal, you need to finish eating all chametz by no later than 11:04 a.m. 11:04 a.m. is when the last bit of chametz crosses your mouth. 11:04 a.m. on Friday, on Saturday, March 27th. So you need to be finished the davening after Kiddush and after eating the motzi by 11:04 a.m. So Chabad, we're going to be davening very early that Shabbat. We're going to be davening at 8:30 a.m. so that we're done by 10:30, so that people can get back, or even earlier, 10:15, so that people can get back and make their Kiddush and eat their challah before 11:04 a.m. You need to be finished the challah. Wrap it up in that napkin, the same way like we talked about first. You're eating it over the napkin. Wrap it up in the napkin. Flush it down the toilet. Give your mouth a thorough rinse to make sure you don't have any last bit of chametz around. By this point, your house should be utterly chametz free, which means no chametz anywhere, no crumbs around the house, because you already did that in the searching of the chametz. The chametz that you want to sell is locked away, and the chametz you left to consume on Shabbos is consumed. It's gone. You ate it, and the little crumbs are flushed down the toilet. If you, for whatever reason, ended up with more challah than you can eat, and like, oh God, I can't eat it, or the time's up, then what you can do is, it's not ideal, but you can take that extra last bit of chametz and stick it in the closet that you sold for Pesach with all the rest of the chametz supplies that you sold for Pesach, and put it in there. All that you need to finish eating by 11:04, and having gotten rid of all uh, chametz by 12:02. And in that time span between 11:04 and 12:02, on Shabbat day is when you say that final nullification that we talked about, the one that is usually said when you are burning the chametz. So again, walking through this really quickly, Thursday night, after 7:52 p.m., you do the searching for the chametz with the 10 pieces. The next morning, before 12:02 p.m., you burn all that chametz, setting aside just enough chametz to make motzi on for Friday night and Shabbat day. Friday night, you make that motzi over a napkin or a tissue, and to allow the crumbs to fall in there. You brush your face, you brush your clothing, you rinse out your mouth, you wrap that up in the napkin, and you flush it down the toilet. Shabbat morning, you are davening very early so that you can sit down, make kiddush, and eat the motzi at least before 11:04 a.m. 11:04 a.m. on Shabbat day, March 27. Then you, same thing, you brush yourself off, you rinse out your mouth, you fold it up in a napkin or tissue, flush it down the toilet, and you make that nullification, that final nullification that is usually associated with the burning of the chametz. At this point, your house is chametz free. Again, if you have a bit of chametz, a big piece of chametz that you know you will not be able to consume, you miscalculate or whatever, you put that in the closet with the rest of the chametz that is being sold for Pesach. All that needs to be done by 12:02. By 12:02, your house is utterly chametz free, and now you can relax. You are not allowed to set up for the Seder until Shabbat is out. And that means that either you're setting up in advance of Shabbat or whatever you do, but you cannot really set up because you're not allowed to use Shabbat to prep for the weekday, even if that weekday is a holiday, because Shabbat has its own intrinsic holiness and it's not allowed to be used as a prep day. So really, you're not allowed to set up the Seder. This is something you should take care of in advance until Shabbat is out. Until Shabbat is out. And Shabbat is out at 8:07 p.m. That is really when you're allowed to start your Seder. 8:07 p.m. Not allowed to start the Seder before then. It's a late year, guys. That's the way it works. It's kind of the rules. And so we're doing it because God said so. If we're doing it because God says so, this is what God says. That the Seder has to happen on the Seder night, not on the Shabbat that precedes it. Usually you're allowed to do it early, take it in early, but actually you're not allowed to do the Seder early. It has to happen on the night of, and it has to happen at night. So Balayla, right? Halayla hazeh, Halayla, it needs to be in the night. So for the kids, you can do something and engage or whatever it is, but the actual elements of the Seder needs to start 8:07. Now this year, being that you're going straight from Shabbat into Pesach, you have to wait till after 8:07 to light the Shabbat, the holiday candles, and Kiddush happens after those candles are lit. And you go in the Kiddush, you'll look in the Haggadah, in the Kadesh, Kiddush for the Seder, you will see that there is a special insert for just this scenario where you're flowing straight from Shabbat into the holiday because you're going to include Havdalah for Shabbat in the Kiddush. You're going to make a total of 5 blessings. What's called Yak Nahaz. Yayin, Borei Priyagafen, the blessing on the wine, the Borei Priyagafen. Kiddush, Yak, Yud, Yuk. The K is for Kiddush. That is the right? Mekadesh Israel Hazmanim. That's the blessing of Kiddush. Then Yak Nan for Nahaz Na is Ner, is the candle Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh. You're going to look at the candles that were just lit for the holiday. You're not going to have the Havdalah candle. You're going to look at the candles for the that were just lit for the holidays, like your Shabbat candles. Now you lit holiday candles, and you're going to look at those and make the Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh. That's Borei. That's the Nun Naha. Ha, the hay over there is for Havdalah, and you're going to make Hamavda Ben Kodesh L'chol Ben Or L'choshev Yisrael Amim, like you make on Havdalah. You're doing this right in the Kiddush as you're holding the cup of wine for the Kiddush, and you finish carefully not being kodesh l'chol, between who has separated between holy and mundane, because you're not going from holy to mundane. You're saying hamavdil, who has separated being kodesh l'kodesh, from one level of holiness to another level of holiness, from Shabbat to the holiday. Hamavdil being kodesh l'kodesh. That's Nahaz. The final Zion is the fifth blessing you make in the Kiddush. Zman, which is the Shechianu v'Kimanu v'Higiyanu l'Zman Hazeh, the blessing that you make over this new moment, right? This fresh new moment, the special moment of Pesach, and all the mitzvahs that are associated. So that Kiddush that is transitioning from Shabbat to Pesach, that Kadesh Kiddush, of the first step of the Seder, has 5 blessings when it typically only has 3. Usually it has the blessing over the wine, the blessing on the Kiddush, and the Shechianu. This year we're also adding, before the Shechianu, after the blessing on the wine and on the Kiddush, you're adding the Ner of Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh and the Havdalah, and then you're doing Shechianu. It's all there in the Haggadah, but just be aware of it. From that point forward, your Seder marches along as any typical year. Obviously, this year is going to be particularly special because every year should be special. But at that point, all the differences kind of are settled, and you are back in regular Pesach mode. So that is what is done for everybody. Thursday night, the searching of the Comets. Friday night, the burning of Friday morning, the burning of the Comets, but without that nullification. Setting aside challahs for Friday night and Shabbat day, eating them very carefully, disposing of the tissues in the toilet, completing your last bit of chametz on Shabbat day before 11:04 a.m. Then you make the nullification. You have that special, you're not really allowed to set up the Seder on Shabbat day, so you got to kind of wait till it's over. 8:07 p.m. After 8:07 is when you can light those holiday candles, and you make that special Kiddush. Just mentioning one last point, for those that are familiar, if you are a firstborn or a father of a firstborn under the age of 13, so you're still responsible for them, they're not yet bar mitzvah, there's an obligation to fast, usually on the Eve of Pesach, because in a sense, to a moment of introspection, because on the Eve of Pesach, the firstborn of Egypt died. We don't know if we are worthy to be spared, and so it's a moment of introspection, and it's called the fast of the firstborn. But you're not really meant to fast on the eve of a holiday, so we got a conundrum: fast, not to fast. So we usually counteract the fast by finding a Jewish reason to feast, which is a Brit Milah or something like that. You can't schedule a Brit Milah because it's kind of 8 days after the child's born. So how do you schedule a feast for the morning of the Eve of Pesach that will obligate you to eat something and thereby break the fast for a good reason? Somebody in the community finishes a tractate of Talmud, which is considered an incredible accomplishment, something that the whole community should celebrate. And so there's that feast. And so somebody usually gets up in the synagogue on the morning before Pesach, finishes a tractate of Talmud, so everybody hears, everybody partakes in the feast, or at least all the firstborns, who otherwise should be fasting, will partake from the feast, and thereby take care of their obligation to fast. This year, that fast gets bumped all the way back to Thursday morning. It does not happen on Friday morning. It happens on Thursday morning. Thursday morning, you should come, if you are a firstborn, you should know that either you're fasting Thursday day from before daybreak till after nightfall, or make you a point of going to synagogue Thursday morning and hearing that completion of a tractate, which will then you'll eat something and then be allowed to eat. So that fast of the firstborn, that's usually the Eve of Pesach, this year gets bumped all the way back to Thursday, March 25th. We will be doing a siyum, a completion of a tractate here at Chabad following morning services. That will be at 7 a.m. on that Thursday. So anybody who would like to come and hear that siyum can come for morning services, 7 a.m. Otherwise, everybody, wishing you all a happy and kosher Pesach. Hope you are ready to tackle Pesach. As my father is very fond of saying, the traditional greeting is a happy and kosher Pesach, Chag Kasher V'Sameach. And he would always say that it is our job to make sure it's kosher. Cleaning of the house and the purchasing of all the kosher Passover items, and it's God's job to make sure it's happy. We'll make it kosher. God will make it happy, and it will be a wonderful, fulfilling Pesach, hopefully with us this year in Jerusalem with the coming of Mashiach. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.